Who can forget one of the most controversial witnesses in the Arias trial? We're talking about domestic violence expert Alice LaViolette, the woman who testified that Jodi Arias was a victim of abuse. Well, she has become enemy number one for trial watchers who wanted Arias found guilty and put behind bars. Well, our Ted Rollins actually had a chance to talk with Alice LaViolette in this exclusive interview.
I had thought about it for a while.
Wiping away tears, domestic violence expert Alice LaViolette talks about the hate she received after testifying for Jodi Arias.
It's very sad for me. I think, people were surprised I wasn't angry. And I really wasn't. I was so sad that people were filled with such hatred for somebody they didn't know. And I'm talking about Jodi, not just me.
My name is Alice LaViolette.
LaViolette spent nearly 3 weeks on the stand telling jurors she thought Jodi Arias was the victim of domestic violence. After a few days, she says the attacks began on social media and with nasty emails and voice messages.
I hope you choke on a chicken bone, you fat bastard. I hope you get hit in the face with a baseball bat. 98% of America hates you and hopes you die.
She also received several death threats.
I know where your office is, and if Jodi Arias doesn't get the death penalty or life without, you will get the death penalty, make no mistake.
As her testimony continued, so did the attacks. An online petition was started to get her fired from a scheduled speaking engagement. Plus, people wrote horrible reviews about her book on Amazon. It got so bad that halfway through her testimony, she had an anxiety attack.
I woke up and I was crying and I was shaking, and I'm not like that. I mean, I have never had anxiety in my life.
In the end, LaViolette was successful in convincing some jurors, including the jury foreman, that Jodi Arias was a victim of abuse, which resulted in a hung jury for the death penalty phase. But LaViolette says she is not going back for the retrial.
Why don't you want to go back?
Threats to my life, threats to my family. My family doesn't want me to go back.
Patricia Womack, a friend of Jodi Arias, backed out of testifying after receiving the same types of threats, according to the Arias defense team. Now they say they're having problems getting witnesses for the retrial.
Guilty.
Jodi Arias was found guilty of first-degree murder. Her retrial will determine whether she gets the death penalty or life in prison. At this point, it's unclear who, if anyone, will be willing to testify on her behalf.
So, Ted, does she have any type of security?
She hired her own security originally right after she testified because she had some speaking engagements, so she had undercover police officers in the audience. Right now, she just, looks over her shoulder and takes a lot of precautions, along with the people who, sadly for them, are in the same office complex as her in California.
Does she regret anything that she said, to this point now?
No, from her standpoint, after talking to her, she really believes that Jodi was a victim of domestic violence. So she was very proud of her work on the stand, if you will, because she believes as well that the jury foreman's comments afterwards play right to her testimony, that the reason he didn't want to kill her, assess the death penalty, was because he thought she was a victim of domestic violence. So she's not coming back because her family won't let her. Jane's shaking her head,
Ted. I got to tell you, Jane's not buying it.
Well, Ted, kudos on a great interview, by the way. But I mean, and I certainly don't condone any threats whatsoever. That's vile. But she took the word of a pathological liar who was maligning the guy whose throat she slit ear to ear. That's why people had a problem with her.
Well, again,
That's absolutely
she's a professional.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Joey.
That's absolutely the problem.
She's a professional that assessed her.
Go ahead, Ted.
Sorry, go ahead, Joey.
This is the problem when you're via satellite. There's a bit of a delay. How about, go ahead, quick thought, Ted, quick thought, Joey. Start with you, Ted.
She's a professional that assessed Jodi, and in her opinion, she came to this conclusion. You may disagree with it, but from her standpoint, she absolutely should not have had to endure what she did with the backlash.
Joey.
opinion after talking
There's
to
no
her.
question. I mean, the backlash was significant, but to Jane's point, look, this is a court of law. In law, we deal with corroboration. How can you just, because someone tells you what happened, take for face value what they said in the absence of anything that would prove that what she's saying is correct, and then draw hypotheses based on that? So I see the public anger. Should it rise to the degree where people are calling her names and doing those? Absolutely not. Should never happen. But you could see the public outrage based upon the testimony that she gave.